Just as a note, I record all my lectures. So who here has found the course website already? Yeah. Good news is it's easy to find. It's CSCI161.com or .ca. It'll redirect you, but it's this. You'll notice it has, here, I'll show you real quick. This is what it'll look like. I'm not going to show it like this though in lecture because that's way too small. I'll have it like that. At the back, is that readable? Yeah? Awesome. And you can hear me good back there? Awesome. All right. So we'll start real quick. Here, raise your hand if you're first year, like first year proper. Really high. Okay. And raise your hand if you think you're actually going to take computer science going forward. All right, cool. I'm hoping to get more of those throughout the semester by showing you how fun it is. But we'll see. So this is 161, Introduction to Computer Science, or Intro to Programming, whatever it's called. Same, for our purposes, more or less the same. This website will have basically all the information. Moodle is only used for submitting assignments. That's it. So this website has all the course content, contact information, syllabus is there. What else do I got? Lab content's there. Assignments will be posted there. They're not currently on the site because I got to change them for this year, but there we go. We'll start real quick by I'm just going to go to the outline syllabus, and we're going to go through this really quick. It's your responsibility to go through this. You got to read it. If I get any questions like, oh, what's the textbook? I'm just going to tell you to read the syllabus. So this is the syllabus, outline, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to go through some of the high level stuff here, things to note. But reading through it and understanding it is up to you. So, course intro, we're going to learn a little bit about computer science. We start by learning programming. But programming is like you've learned how to pick up a pencil and you can write in the English language. But no one would say, oh, I'm doing English. No, it's just that's the tool we use for computer science. But of course, you got to start somewhere, so we start by learning programming. Raise your hand if you have any programming experience. Okay, I'm going to warn you. It is shockingly common for those that have experienced programming to show up the first year and do horribly. It's because a lot of students show up and yeah, we start at the basics. There's no assumption that you know anything here. We move quickly, don't get me wrong. But it's very often where people think they know it, they're not really paying attention. Next thing you know, we're way ahead of you. Because what you learned in high school or whatever will get you like to the first month, if that. So we're moving quickly. Don't let it sneak up on you. It's a warning because it happens, unfortunately. Prerequisites, there are none. I'm James Hughes. Class times, well, you found it. You know where it is. Labs. Labs for sections 11 and 12 start this week. That means they start this Thursday, 2 days from now. Every year people always say, no, they don't start till next week. No, it's every class is different. You might have a math class that doesn't start lab until next week. That's fine. Sections 11 and 12 for 161 start this week. Sections 13 and 14, which you might be in, start next week because those labs are Monday, Tuesday, and it wouldn't be very nice to give you a lab the first day of class. If at any point you got a question about this, just raise your hand. It gets boring talking like this. All right, this website's going to have all the course content. Let me make sure I'm actually recording. Yeah, just you can't see me. Okay. Course notes is just on this website. You can access them anywhere. There is a course textbook. It's free. There's a link right there. Because it's free doesn't mean it's not high quality. It's fantastic. I tend to hate most textbooks for introductory programming stuff. Some of the topics that we will cover, this list is not exhaustive in any way, but we're going to learn some basic introductory programming stuff. We'll learn about variables, types, what's a statement, what's a function. We're going to learn a lot about testing. That's a big part of programming. Same with debugging. We're going to learn about conditionals, booleans, iteration, loops, comments, strings, I/O, tuples, and lists, dictionaries, pointers, and RAM, kind of. Arrays, NumPy, and API. Actually, we're not going to talk about NumPy. File I/O, debugging, searching, sorting, maybe some recursion, a lot about objects, computational complexity, data visualization, machine learning, dynamic programming, Monte Carlo methods. Those last couple are going to be very optimistic. We're probably not going to get there. But if we find we're moving along really quick in the course, maybe I'll throw some extra stuff on there. But do note, those are rather advanced topics, so you're not going to learn all about machine learning in one class at the end of the semester. Here's the mark breakdown. Each assignment's 10%, lab's worth 10%, midterms 20%. The date of that will be announced as soon as we have it set. It will take place in class. Final exam to be announced based on the registrar's office. I don't know that yet. They figure that out in a couple months. Assignments, you submit assignments on Moodle. They're due the date that they said they're due. No lates are accepted. It's due at 11:55 and you hand it at 11:56. Is it going to get marked? No. Why? Because it's due at 11:55. There's an easy way to avoid this. Don't try to submit it the minute before it's due. I'll give you plenty of time to do the assignments, and that's why there's also no acceptance with like accommodations or late, because I'll give you 3 weeks to work on it. You have 3 weeks to do it. If you're telling me, oh, you just couldn't get it done the day before, probably not. So no late submissions at all. Marking is done by a TA, a marker. Mistakes can happen, they follow a marking scheme. If you've got a problem with your assignment mark, I don't mean like, oh, complaining because you feel you should get another mark, even though you were wrong, but if you really look at it this way, no, those are just ignored. But if you lose marks where you shouldn't have lost marks, let us know, we'll fix it, there's no problem there. But you do have to let us know within 2 weeks of when it's returned. Because otherwise, after that time period, it's not going to get done, because you just can't keep track of that stuff. Do know this is rare. This might happen once a semester. Recoupment. This is a big one. Listen up. So, I'm going to be emphasizing this a lot in a moment. You're going to be making a lot of mistakes. When you're programming, when you're writing code, I don't care how experienced you are. It could be the first time you're writing a program, or you could have been a programmer for 25 years and working in industry. The majority of time that you spend in front of the computer is figuring out why something's not working. That's what programming is. When you sit down and you start typing and you hit run, you go, it doesn't work. It's not going to work. You're going to be wrong every single time before you get it right. And that's normal. And if it's not normal in any other discipline, it's the most normal in computer science. You make mistakes. That's normal. And fixing those mistakes it's called debugging. We've got a very common name for it. That's mostly what you do when you're writing programming, when you're writing programs. So get used to making mistakes. And you got to also remember that when you get marks, contrary to how you've been brought up through an education system, marks are not intended to be punishment in any way. The purpose of marks are for feedback. The purpose of marks is to give you an evaluation of the work that you've got. When you make a mistake, it's not that you should feel bad about yourself. Don't tie your self-worth to marks. That's a recipe for disaster. The point of marks is to let you know where you make mistakes. And in computer science, you're going to make a lot. So, on the assignments, when your assignment is returned, you have 1 week, if your assignment is eligible, you have 1 week to take the feedback, make the changes, and resubmit your assignment. And if you do, and you correct all the mistakes, you can get 50% of the marks you lost back. For example, if you hand in your assignment and you get 80%, and you made a couple of little mistakes in your code, so you got 80%. And the TA gave you feedback. The TA said the marker's not going to tell you what exactly you did wrong necessarily. They're not going to tell you how to fix it. They're going to show you corrections, if you make all the corrections such that your assignment is now 100 out of 100, 10 out of 10, whatever it's out of, you will now get, if you had 80% before, you will get 50% of those marks that you lost. So of the 20%, that's 10%. So you now have 90, which is fantastic. Free marks. You even are told where the mistakes are. You just got to fix them. Sometimes, easier said than done. But that's the idea. Maybe you don't make all of the mistakes. Maybe you don't fix all the mistakes. Maybe you fix 16 of those 20 that you could have got. Okay, you get plus 8%. So now you have 88 on your assignment. That's good. And your assignments total 40% of your final grade. So those extra marks you get could make a huge difference long term. But there are conditions. The assignments are due when they're due, and your assignment has to be noted when you get it back. It has to be noted that your assignment is eligible for recoupment. Because sometimes what will happen, it won't happen here, I'm sure, but sometimes what will happen is a student will get their assignment, know that recoupment exists, they maybe it's like an hour before the due date, they decide to just vomit on the computer screen, hand in nonsense, and then think they can do the recoupment. No. It has to be clearly you tried, and clearly, you just made these mistakes, and then you're eligible. If you hand in nonsense, there's no recoupment there. And this is up to the discretion of the marker, and there's no arguing it. This is a nice thing. That's it. Another thing too is you get 1 week from when it's returned, not from when you look at it. So if it's returned on the Monday and you don't open it until the next Tuesday, it's too late. And this will be submitted via Moodle. What else would I want to say about it? See if I can remember in here. Conditions. Further. And when you resubmit, you have to let the marker know what it is that you fixed. Because if they just get your code and they're looking at it and they're going like, I don't know. They're not going to go back through the 100 assignments and be like, okay, what mistakes? Let me go open theirs, open it up, go through everything, find out where the mistakes are, find out what changes they make. They're not going to do that. They're not going to mark it. You have to make it very clear what you changed. If you don't, it's not getting remarked. Tests. You can't cheat. I don't know, some academic stuff that we got to include. The tests are scheduled to be in person, but depending on circumstances, as they may or may not change, if things change, that it needs to be delivered through some other medium, other format, we will let you know as soon as possible. I'm not going to let you know the day before, like, oh, it's online now. As soon as we know that there's an issue and it needs to change format, we'll let you know. But for now, just plan for in-person. When you're writing the midterm, it's going to be in this room. When you're writing the final, it'll be wherever they schedule us. So, yeah. Missed midterms, there's no makeup midterms. If you miss the midterm, your grade will be, like that 20% of your final grade that the midterm is worth will be shifted to your final. So your final exam is then worth 50% of your final grade. I don't recommend that, but it is what it is. Excuse me. Labs. It's a place you get hands-on experience. So once a week, you'll show up to the lab, and during the lab, you do a bunch of lab exercises. The point of the lab isn't so much that you sit there, you work, you get stuck, you raise your hand, they come and help you. Sure, that happens. But really the point of the lab is for you to sit there and try at stuff. And really what I want to emphasize is co-teaching and co-learning. It's when you're sitting in the lab and there's someone next to you in the same course, maybe you don't know them, but you're stuck on something, you can see they're working on something, ask them. And they can help you a little bit. Next thing you know, they're going to be asking you a question, you help them a little bit. That type of environment is empirically proven to be a much better learning environment than me just coming around and helping you. If you're really stuck, whatever, sure, I'll come and help, but I'm going to be really emphasizing the co-teaching and co-learning, given how critically effective and important that is. There are pre-lab exercises. They're posted on each lab. I'll show you real quick for an example. If you go down to, no, that's the outline. Like lab 2, for example. If you go look, here are the pre-lab exercises. They're not designed to be hard. They're just designed to get you doing like something related to what the lab's about. So you show up to the lab a little bit better prepared than having not done it. Of course, when you show up, we're going to go around the room and have a look at that you're done the pre-lab exercises. If we get there and you clearly haven't done the pre-lab exercises, you'll be asked to leave and you'll get 0 on that lab. Come prepared, otherwise don't come. Because you end up just wasting my time and everyone else's in the room when you're asking me questions about things that you should have been prepared about instead of me helping someone who's actually done the work. If you're stuck on something though, if you're stuck on any pre-lab exercise or anything though, come to office hours. Shoot us an email. We want to make sure you got it done. We want to make sure you're prepared. We're here to facilitate your learning. But if you just don't do it, you show up, you haven't done it, we're going to get you to leave. Okay. Email contact. You can email me. You can also email the email address csci-161@citybucks.ca, and it'll send an email to a group account that me, the other professor, and the TAs have access to, so you have other eyes on it, just in case maybe they can get around to your email before I do. So that exists as well, and don't forget, this is in the syllabus if you forget it. Now, a note on email. You got to use your SaintFX email. There are email appropriate questions, and then there's not. If you write an email that's this long with all these detailed stuff, I'm not going to be able to manage that. Email, questions that are appropriate for email are things like, oh, this assignment says this, is this what you mean? Or what is blah, 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 blah. Hey, I asked about this, blah, blah, blah. You could try, but when I get those long ones, detailed, or here's my code, it doesn't work well, those ones get deleted immediately. Because it's not going to work. Those take ages to respond to. Those types of questions are for office hours. You show up to office hours with those types of questions because that's where you can flesh it out. Email's asynchronous. And I tend not to check any email after I get home. So if you're emailing me late in the day and it's not going to work, just come to office hours. Office hours are painfully underused. I say this every year and then throughout the whole semester I'll have 7 people show up. It's really boring. I just sit in my office, lonely, waiting for students that need help. Come to office hours. I think I hit office hours in a moment. Yeah. Oh, and when you email me too, say what course you're talking about and lab or whatnot, because otherwise, there's a lot of you, I don't know what's going on. Hey, I need help on assignment 1. What? I don't know what that means. Office hours, yeah, come to office hours. Now, I need to really emphasize something. Who's your teacher? Point at your teacher. You're wrong. Point at yourself. I'm a professor, I'm not a teacher. My job is to facilitate your learning. I do everything I can to set you up for success, but I can't teach you anything. I can't make you learn anything. I make the course content open access. I record my lectures and post them on YouTube. All the lab content is there. The course textbook is free and open. I do everything I can to make it so you are successful. But I can't make you learn anything. It is not my job to teach you a single thing. It's my job to set you up for success. The rest is up to you. So just do it again. Who's your teacher? Point to yourself. There you go. So, when it comes to office hours too, a big thing to emphasize, if you show up and you're like, I'm stuck on assignment 1, question 1, I'm going to ask you, what have you done? What have you tried? And if you think you're clever and you're like, I just didn't even know where to start, I'm going to tell you to leave and go actually try something. Where do I start? Reading the assignment. Those types of questions are classic. Professors joke about it amongst one another, like, oh, well, what have you done? Oh, no, I just didn't even know how. Go do something, and don't waste our time by thinking you found this loophole, like, well, I'm not going to do anything, and then they're going to just tell me the answer. That's another thing. You can't show up to office hours and be like, I need help me fix it. No, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to fix your code. Fixing your code, debugging, writing the assignments is what you do, not what I do. I can help you along. I will be there to facilitate you for helping you work your way to the right answer, but I'm not going to give you the answer to anything, because getting the answer to things is the assignment, is the lab. Attendance, it's mandatory. Copyright policy, I own everything that I'm in this content unless stated otherwise. You're not allowed to record me or anything in any way, shape, or form, but don't worry, I do it to myself and put it on YouTube. So you don't need to be worried about that. Academic offenses and plagiarism. This is my favorite thing to talk about. Computer science, this is a no. Computer science has a disproportionately large number of cheating cases every year. Not just here, I mean like across North America. You can find New York Times articles about plagiarism and cheating in computer science everywhere. One of my few joys in life is catching cheaters. I dedicate so much time after every assignment is submitted. I dedicate a lot of time to going through each assignment and looking for cheaters. It's weird how much finding cheaters pleases me. And despite this, every year I'll still get 10% of the class cheating on assignment 1. You might think you found a new way to cheat. I've seen it before. I have software that identifies cheating for me. I go through it. I will find cheaters. If you think, oh, I'm so smart, I can trick the software. Well, if you can, you didn't need to cheat on assignment 1 in Intro to Programming. If you know how to do that, you know how to write a print statement, print function, pardon me. Don't cheat, I'll catch you. I love catching cheaters. I will catch you, and then, so here's usually what happens. If I catch a cheater, so it's not plagiarism. So at St. FX, there's plagiarism, cheating, and then like another offense. If it's plagiarism, which is very hard to do in computer science, but plagiarism is the low one. Then you get like a reprimand from me, it's noted on your file, and nothing really happens. I get to decide what I want to do. Like you'll probably get 0 on the assignment or something. But in computer science, you don't end up with plagiarism. Plagiarism and things like taking something that's not yours, pretending it's, cheating is a little bit more explicit, like, oh, you work together on the assignment, you have the same answers, or like, oh, you don't have the same answers, they're the same answers. That is automatically tier 2 for cheating at St. FX. And what that means is, I submit a report, you go into the system, and then there is a committee that does the investigation on you. And the committee always comes to me and asks, well, what do you want to do about it? And the first thing I always advocate for is expulsion. Because some profs talk about, oh, 0 on the assignment, maybe negative 100%, oh, The reason I go for expulsion is, I know you know what cheating is. You don't cheat by accident. You've known what cheating is since you were this big. You can't play stupid when it comes to cheating. You've known it's against the rules since you've been, 2, 3? Don't cheat, it's easy. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, what if I cheat by accident, just by, don't worry. No one who cheats, like earnestly cheats by accident ever gets hit with this stuff. It's easy for me to tell. I've been doing this for long enough that it's easy to tell. So you don't need to be worried about that. It's the people that are cheating that need to worry. You can go. Never mind. So don't cheat. When you cheat, it's disrespectful to me. It's disrespectful to everyone in this room. Anyone who's ever gone to university. Because they did the work, and you think you're so smart that you can get around doing the work? No. Get out of here. You're wasting my time and everyone else's. Don't cheat. I'll catch you, and you will make my day. Tutoring, you can get a tutor, but they're not going to do stuff for you. Accommodations, you go through this. Accommodations, go through this. Medical illness, cent policy, don't go crazy with cents. Equity, you can go through that. Preferred pronouns, I'll warn you about this one. Let me know, but you gotta be patient with me because there's a lot of you, and the online system we have gives us your legal names by default. This is something they're working on, they need to fix. But if I get it, and I go, oh, that's so-and-so, you gotta let me know, because I won't know, because the system is too stupid yet to actually have that figured out. Cool? All right, any questions about that outline so far? You can ask, I'm not as mean as I actually just sounded. Yeah?
What exactly is the exam going to look like?
What will it look like? If it's an in-person one, it'll be typically like a couple of short answers and a couple of like medium answer type things. And now we're going to be like, here, write 2 pages of code in one shot. No, that's ridiculous, right? But it will be written pencil paper, and the questions will be like, I go for testing your knowledge. If you know what you're doing, you should get near perfect on my exams. If you don't, you should get near 0 on my exams. That's how I'm going to do it. Okay. All right. Intro. Okay. And you all still can see this pretty decently back there, eh? All right, intro. What are you going to learn? In this course, a couple of big takeaways. You're going to learn how to write computer programs. In fact, you're going to have most of the tools in your tool belt that your average programmer has by the end of the semester. Now, mind you, the person that's been programming for decades knows how to use them well, knows how to use them together. I'm sure they know a couple more tips and tricks, and they just have the experience. But you're not going to be like, oh, you know this much. Right? Like, no, you'll have all the tools. You'll learn a lot this semester. You probably won't realize it till the end of the semester, and then you realize, oh my God. I went from not knowing how to write a single program to knowing basically all of the core concepts to write programs. You'll learn how to write programs to solve problems. This is a big one, right? Like, there's writing software, and then there's writing software specifically for problem solution. I know at this stage it's not easy to differentiate those things, but you'll see as we go. You'll learn a little bit about how computers work, a little bit, and a little bit about what computer science is. Computer science is a very broad term that a lot of people don't even really know what it is. Yeah. The long version, read the outline. All right, here we go. Here, I'll give you a minute. Talk amongst yourselves. Get to know each other real quick. Have you ever encountered a computer program before? You know, you don't need to talk amongst yourselves. Raise your hand if you ever encountered a program before in your life. Put up your hand. Of course you have. Everyone has. Here's one. If you're thinking, now here I say science. I don't know why it's specifically science. That's old. But if you could think of any field that hasn't, like a discipline that you might study at university, can you think of any field that wouldn't benefit in some way from, computers or technology? Probably not, right? That's kind of a hard question to ask, especially considering it's everywhere already. So what prerequisites? Nothing. Be here and want to go. Why are the course notes a website? Well, because we're going to start learning computer science. By doing that, we're going to be doing programming. We're going to be using the programming language called Python. There's a joke in computer science or programming where, Google it. You're going to hear that a lot from me. In fact, I'm going to talk about it again in a moment. Google it. Because all the documentation for anything you're ever going to do or use is on the internet. It's there. It's not hiding. You can find it. In fact, it's not unusual, especially at this stage, that every problem you encounter with your code, someone else already has. And they've talked about it on the internet. You'll find websites like Stack Overflow and various other things where people will talk about how to do X, Y, Z. Oh, I ran into this problem. Oh, here's a solution. What does that function do? Here's the docs. It's all there. So, the reason it's a website is, it's not only it's a website developed with something called Sphinx. This is an auto-generated website. And what's cool about Sphinx is, well, it is the same thing that the Python documentation uses. This is the documentation for the math library. We'll talk about this later. You don't need to know this yet. And it's using the same thing. So it's designed with familiarity in mind. There's 2 sections. Yeah, this is section 11. There's another section, section 12, taught by another professor. How will this class work? Well, it's going to be a little different than your average university class because I don't like talking for an hour straight. So what I will often do is I will periodically break up things with like an activity where I say, okay, go do this for 5 minutes. Or probably not 5 minutes, depending on the activity. I'll give you a minute or two to do something, so it gives me a break and it gives you a chance to wake up. So we'll have activities, and then at the end you'll have like suggested readings. So here's the thing. The only way you're going to get better is by practicing. If people come to me at the end of the semester saying, oh, I went through all the content, I watched the YouTube videos, I wrote all the labs, and I don't get it, it's not clicking. Yeah, that means you just haven't practiced enough. You got to practice. You can't just read a website and go, I know how to program. I say, you could go watch every single, probably the thousands and thousands, if not millions of hours on YouTube of piano tutorials. You could watch every single one, every second of every single one. And will you know how to play a piano after that? No. You have to actually sit down in front of your keyboard and play before you actually learn. You can learn all the theory you want, you can learn all this, but unless you do, you're not going to pick up those skills. It's the same thing with programming. You could go read and watch everything there is, but unless you do, you're not going to learn it. You got to practice. And that course textbook, that free one, has a bunch of activities in it that are broken down by topic for practice. There's also Caddis, which we use in the lab, that is full of questions for practice. So here, let's do a quick activity. Chat amongst yourselves and just answer these questions to each other. What's your major? Why did you put the same effects? Why are you taking the class? What do you hope to learn and whatnot? Talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to do this and give me a break. All right, sounds like things are quieting down. Raise you're in the Faculty of Science. Really high. Okay, so quite a few of you, fairly typical. How about Faculty of Arts program? Okay. Business? Why are you hiding at the back? All of you back there. Education? No one from education? Well, that's too bad. Nursing? No, that's too bad. Did I miss anybody? No. I guess everyone's from the business, arts, or science. Arts programs. What are some of your majors? Or playing majors at least? Someone just yell out.
Stats.
Stats? Oh, but you're taking it as the Bachelor of Arts?
That's science.
Okay, so those are the Faculty of Arts. What are some of your majors? Econ?
This,
Pardon?
computer science.
Computer science, we were doing the Faculty of Arts version. Cool.
Biomedical.
Biomedical, nice. Health program, yeah, that's a big one. We tend to steal a bunch of students from health, so maybe.
Yeah, I'm fifth year, so
Oh.
I'm just here. Climate?
Climate, yeah, we steal a bunch from climate too. So maybe next year I can convince you to be a CS major instead. It's more fun. Climate. Sorry, bad joke. What else?
Physics,
Physics? Cool. But that's Faculty of Science or Faculty of Arts?
science.
Science one, okay, cool. Well, what other Faculty of Science programs?
Physics and chem.
Physics and chem?
Physics and math.
Physics and math. Okay, how about who's in math? Who here is planning on being computer science? Wow, there's so few of you. That saddens me. Now, who here, okay, be honest, raise your hand. Who here just, they don't like math? Okay, so I got some bad news for you. No, it's good news, bad news. Okay? The bad news is computer science, it's just math. Now, that said, is it doesn't look like it though, does it? End of the day, it is just math. But we do a really good job at pretending it's not. So, you know, in a year or so, you might be like, I'm mad at that math, but I like this math. Well, that's programming, that's math. But it is, but we trick you into doing it and liking it. So, there we go. And for those of you that do like math, you're going to love this course. All right, what do you bring? You know, readiness to do stuff. If you show up to just sit and listen, you probably won't get as much out of the course as those that show up with pencil paper that are taking notes. By the way, there are empirical studies showing that people that take physical notes over typing them retain more, FYI. But if you show up with pencil paper or even a laptop, that's great, especially because sometimes some of these activities we do will be programming ones. Like here, whip open Colab and make this program. Try to get this working or something. No, you don't have to come with a laptop. You can work with someone next to you, or you can do it pencil paper. Some of the most important computer science that comes out is all done pencil paper. You don't even touch the computer. But if you do have a laptop and you bring it, you can gain a bit extra by doing the activities as we go. So, is this class easy? Well, no. No, it's not. Where people get tricked in this class is we will learn about individual tools, things, and programming. To me, it's analogous to like, yeah, you know, who knows how to use a hammer? Everyone does. They can pick up a hammer and hit nails with it, a screwdriver, a saw, and so on and so on and so on. But the difficulty comes with how do you use these tools together in complex ways to solve complex problems. So the tools themselves are fairly easy. They're relatively easy to get. But using them effectively is not. People will come to office and are saying, I get this statements, they're easy. Great. You know the tool, you understand the tool, but now you gotta use it. And you gotta learn how to use it, and you're gonna do that by practicing. So the class, some of it might seem easy and it might sneak up on you, but the complexity, how these things go together, is where things get tricky. So, another thing that makes this course difficult for new students, and this is not to scare anyone away. I want to be very clear, this is not supposed to sound intimidating. This is supposed to just be setting you up for success. I don't want you to have the wrong expectations. This class tends to be very different from courses that you may have already taken in other disciplines, in high school or whatever. There are a lot of courses with a lot of transferable skills amongst them. But programming is kind of fun, where maybe you never had an opportunity to take a programming course before. Maybe you never took a physics course before, but you know, you took a bunch of chemistry, you had some biology, and you did all your math courses. There's a lot of transferable skills there that you're going to be set up for. You've got a lot under your belt for starting intro to physics, right? Programming is a little different because there's really not a lot of other courses with a lot of those transferable skills. So you're starting off fairly uninitiated. But that's okay because we start with that assumption. And again, intro to computer science tends to have a disproportionately large fail rate. It tends to have one of the highest, if not the highest, first-year courses fail rates at universities. Again, not to scare you, but to set you up for success so you have the right expectation. Because the key to this, the key to not falling for that by being one of those people that fail, is just practice. Just do it. Don't let it get ahead. Don't let things get ahead of you. Just stay on top of it. That's your job right now as university students. Stay on top of it, and you'll be successful. I want you to be. So should you be terrified? No. This course is entirely doable, and you can be really damn successful if you put in the work. This is not a course you can just kind of float by and like, well, you know, I'll get my pass and I'll move on. No, though if that's your mentality, you might get a 20% in the course. Don't take that attitude. If that's your attitude for this course, you're setting yourself up for failure. Here's the big thing I want to emphasize. And I talked about this before, moments ago, when I talked about making mistakes. There are very few disciplines where, like a course you could take at university, where when you do your assignment, you can immediately know if you're right or wrong before you submit it. Because it'll be, I want you to write a program to do ABC. So your assignment is, I write that program to do ABC. And then I run my program, and it doesn't do ABC. I know there's a mistake. You have the luxury of knowing when you made mistakes. You have the luxury of knowing when you need to fix mistakes. And where the mistakes are, Python will show you. You got 25 lines of code, Python will be like, there's a problem on line 7. Sometimes it's not that deep, a lot of times it's not that simple. But you can localize mistakes. You are lucky that you are taking a course where you will know if you're right or wrong. You write your thing, you hit run, did it work? You know. You test your code. You'll know if you're right or wrong. And most of the time when you're working, and I need to emphasize enough. People think, anyone ever see these silly websites? Give me a moment while I see if I can find one. This is like a meme website in computer science, right? You know, you go to the movies and you see, I'm going to hack. And you're, oh my gosh, here we go. I'm going to go and write code. This does never happen. No one does this. There is no psycho in the world that can do this. Oh no, access denied. I got canceled. I don't know. They caught me. Oh, I'm hacking. This doesn't happen. No one codes like this. This does not happen. You write like one line of code and you hit run, and it's not going to work because that's how it works. And then you go, oh shit. So then you make a change and you hit run and it kind of works. And you're like, oh, okay, well, what else is wrong? It's this iterative process. Most of the time when you're writing code, you're sitting there beating your head against that keyboard going, why is this not working? And then eventually when your head gets numb enough, it starts to work. And then you feel, and this is another joke in computer science. You're doing that. And after 10 minutes, after an hour of debugging the stupid mistakes you have, you are so discouraged, like, I'm the dumbest person on the planet, I can't believe I don't know how to do this, then finally you see the mistake. Finally, you make that fix, and then you think to yourself, I'm a god! I can't believe I figured this out. Oh my gosh. That right there is one of the best things about computer science, is that feeling of I got it, is so good in this course, in computer science, because you know if you're right or wrong, and when you get it right after so long of trying, that sense of accomplishment, you're looking at me right now going like, oh yeah, you're going to feel it. Eventually in this class, and you're like, yeah, you called it. Yeah, that's right. It is an awesome feeling. If you think, like, oh, and I hit run and it didn't work, I'm terrible at this. The reason you're terrible at this is because you thought that that's how this is supposed to work. It does not work like that. There's some stat, I can't remember what it is. Forgive me if I get it wrong, but it's something ridiculous. Like, your average software engineer writes like 50 lines of code a day. If that. Because most of the time, they're thinking about it. Why is this going to work? Why isn't that going to work? They're planning, they're thinking. No one sits down and just writes code. That doesn't work. The movies have set you up in a wrong way. They've lied to you. How dare they? You're going to be making a lot of mistakes. That's a good thing. That's how you learn. You try something, did it work or not? If it did, good. If it didn't, all right, you made a mistake. Try again. Try again. Try again. You're going to be wrong every single time before you're right. Remember that. That might mean you're wrong 20 times before you're right. You're going to be wrong a lot more than you're right. That's the process. And that feedback you get helps you know and helps you learn and helps you become better. Expect it. If you go in thinking that, oh, I made a mistake, I'm bad at this, you've got the wrong mindset. And then I need help. This is old, and it's not even more. It's more true now than ever. Life before Google. Oh, I thought I thought of something I'd like to know more about. Oh, that's a damn shame. Because the joke is now you want to know it. You know, if this was 25 years ago, if I wanted to know more about cheetahs, I'd have to go to the library and grab an encyclopedia and read a paragraph. This big an encyclopedia that tells me about cheetahs. Now, if I want to know about cheetahs, I go to Google, type it in. I can know everything, ever, about cheetahs. The information's there. Anything you want to know is there. We never have been more spoiled than we have today with the information available on anything we want to know. It's in your pocket, for crying out loud, if you've got your phone on you, which why wouldn't you? So, knowing the challenges that students face, we have provided a lot of things to facilitate you for success. Some of these I provided, some of them just exist. Like Google, I didn't make it, but it exists. There's the YouTube channels, email, there's Google, you come to office hours, there's labs, there's Google, there's a lot. And the reason Google's in that list a lot is because you're going to be using it a lot. And no matter how many times I say this, you have a question, ask Google. Oh, how's the statement work again? Throw it into Google, you will find 1,000 correct answers. Sorry, you will find a bajillion correct answers. In what Google shows you that found in 0.00002 seconds or something ridiculous, right? Everything's there. When I tell you, if you ever ask me a question, I'm like, I don't know, Google it. I probably know it. But I'm not dismissing you. What I'm trying to do is get you to learn probably the most important skill as a programmer, is that independence. The most important skill as a student, that independence. You can ask me, and I can tell you the answer. Or you can spend the time to learn how to find the answer on your own. That's not me being lazy. That's me trying to show you one of the most important skills for programming. If not every discipline, but really true for programming. So much so that it's a joke. You go on the internet and type in computer science is a degree in Googling and find hundreds of memes about I just got my degree in how to Google computer science degree because it's so ubiquitously true that that's what it is. Get used to it. Not dismissing, but because you need to learn how to use it, how to search, how to ask the right questions, how to ask your questions the right way to find the answers to your problems. And yeah, Google's very common. And I guess we ran out of time. Any last questions before we end? Okie dokie. See you later.